Armor-piercing equipment is a very niche type of equipment in Space Station 14, and oddly enough, it's actually only really obtainable by Syndicate agents, which is kind of funny because the most heavily armored people tend to be Syndicate agents, so it's kind of a reversed piece of equipment. However, armor piercing stuff is also really rare, and there's really only two actual ways of acquiring armor piercing equipment, and they're both in the uplink for both syndicates and nuclear operatives. The first armor piercing is a Python. Brutally simple, effective, and loud syndicate revolver comes with armor piercing rounds. It is worth noting, if you grow pythons with gap fruit seeds, it does not come with AP ammo, so it must be purchased directly. You can purchase 6 bullets for 3 TC, so it's half a TC per bullet if you buy extra speed loaders. It is a very expensive overall type of bullet. The Python can fire 2 bullets a second, and if we empty the Python, we can observe that these armor-piercing bullets do 26 pierce a shot. Armor-piercing is essentially true damage. That means it doesn't matter if somebody has 99% resist or 0% resist, the Python will do 26 damage. It's kind of nice knowing that this gun will do 52 DPS regardless of anyone you are shooting. That's why it's a niche use. So if you were to shoot this random Grey Tider with a Python shot and examine their health, they will take 26 damage. If you shoot this Death Squad member who has over 90% pierce resistance, they will take 26 damage. The Python is the only way to get armor-piercing bullets in the game currently. So it is also worth mentioning that it's very expensive to get more ammo, but if you're trying to kill somebody like the captain or even somebody like the head of security in their armor, the pierce resist gets pretty high, and the Python will actually have better DPS than pretty much every other gun in the game against said armor targets. Another armor-piercing weapon that is much cheaper is the throwing knives. Yeah, it's still 6 telecrystals, but inside the throwing knife bundle, you get 4 of them, and they only take up a 1x2 slot, meaning you don't have to worry about reloading them. Each throwing knife actually does 25 damage when thrown, does 10/15 pierce, but it's essentially, again, true damage. However, slash and pierce does amazing bleed damage, so it's worth mentioning that doing that much damage to somebody guaranteed, and some of it being slash, pretty much maxes out your bleed stacks, which is a really brutal element. If you can't manage to finish somebody off, they are going to be hurting. The throwing knife, you just put it in your hand and throw it. It will embed in somebody, meaning you have to pull it out. That can also be risky because that can mean the person could pull it back out and use it against you, but the damage is rather massive. And if you ever want to double the effectiveness of your throwing knives, you can actually fit 2 of them inside a pneumatic cannon, and the pneumatic cannon throws things harder than you can throw them. So you can stand pretty far away and just absolutely obliterate somebody. Yeah, it only does 50 damage total. So unless you're dual wielding cannons or you reload it quickly, you can't 100 to 0 somebody. But that time to kill essentially becomes 2 seconds guaranteed because, again, 25 times 4 is true damage. If you land all 4 knives, it only takes 2 seconds with 2 pneumatic cannons to down somebody. Good keybinds can also really maximize the effectiveness of throwing knives. So like I have somewhat decent keybinds for throwing, so I can throw rather fast. Like you can down somebody incredibly quick with these. I'm really shocked you don't see them more. Another form of armor piercing, which this isn't technically armor piercing, but it pierces through armor and will inject reagents. Objects like spears, arrows, and even hypo darts can be laced with specific reagents, which can embed through any form of armor in the game. So for example, a hypo dart with a full tank of, or full canister, whatever you want to call it. So for example, a hypo dart filled with Lexerin can actually 100 to 0 a Death Squad member. It's not instant, but as soon as it is injected into them, they are doomed to crit because even if they pull it out, it fully injects. I believe the syringe gun, when that comes out, won't fully inject the whole payload at once, so you can pull it out. But as it stands, these items currently fully inject their payloads. Or just, I don't know a better word for payload, but it fully injects all the reagents instantly. So if you're hit with them and it's spiked with Lexerin, you are in trouble. And just for one more oddity in the game, the Interdyne Defib was just added like 2 days ago. And if you melee somebody with it, it actually does shock damage. When it's turned on, it does 16 shock. And as far as I'm aware, there is no gear in the game that resists shock. So essentially the combat defib, the Interdyne Defib, is essentially a true damage melee weapon. Probably an oversight, but it's in the game right now. By the way, that's pretty much it about armor piercing slash things that go through armor. It's not a complicated system, but the items could be somewhat obscure. Armor piercing is essentially true damage in this game, and that's really it. Thank you for watching.